problematic behavior from becoming worse than it ordinarily would by not adding fuel to the fire. So we want to try to not make it escalate. That's the goal. Our goal is not to figure out how to make it stop. I have people call me all the time, how do I get my husband to stop doing such and such? How do I get my wife to start doing such and such? And I say, well, how'd you make him do things before he had dementia? I couldn't.
What's going to change for us?
Right? We don't make anybody do anything or stop doing anything, but we can help facilitate an environment where different behavior is more advantageous. Does that make sense? So our goal is not to stop problematic behavior from starting. Our goal is what?
To keep it from escalating.
Right. To keep it, to not contribute to its escalation, which is a little bit different than to stop it from escalating, because sometimes it just escalates and we haven't contributed. And we don't have control over that. Most of the time when it escalates, it's because we've contributed something.
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Not to stop it from escalating, but
We want to not contribute to the escalation, which is more precise. It's easier if you're taking notes to write down, keep it from escalating. In most cases, the escalation is because we've contributed.
Are we looking at having it not be repetitive for the next time?
No,
No, just
that
no
moment.
escalate, just taking
Because
care of it right
that
now.
would be stopping it from starting again, right?
Just
So good question, because a lot of people after taking this class will come to me and say, you know, I must have a special case because I tried what you suggested and it just didn't work. And I said, oh, what happened? Well, we did this and it was okay, but then 10 minutes later, she was at it again. And I said, you know, after talking for a while, most of the time what happens is we realize, oh, well, it did work in that moment. 10 minutes later, she forgot and did it again. Mm-hmm. The need her behavior was trying to fill was met by how you responded. And then the need came up again when she forgot that you had filled it. Does that make sense? I have a sucking vortex of need if I have dementia, because my needs don't stay met. I don't remember that they've been met, and my brain's still broken. You can give me a sense of power and control in this moment, my brain's still broken. So I'm still going to feel powerless when we're not interacting that way. Does that make sense? So it's going to keep coming up, and there will be variations on a theme. So you might have the, theme around money for 6 months, and then the theme might change, and it might be driving for a year, and then it might change, and it might be I'm going to buy 25 bags of carrots every time I go to the grocery store, or we're out of this, or we need that, or I forgot this. So the themes might change, but the need that the behavior is trying to fill remains because they still have the disease. And the ability for their needs to stay satiated isn't there. Does that make sense? So we are not trying to stop it from starting, and we are not trying to prevent it from happening again. We are simply trying to not add fuel to the fire in that moment. That's a realistic expectation. And most disappointment in life is the result of an unrealistic expectation.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
One of the words you were saying, escalation, is usually not our fault, but you said something else. You said it in a different term.
We're not always the cause for the behavior escalating. A lot of times it's out, actually a lot of times we are the cause. So sometimes the behavior escalates no matter what. A lot of times the behavior escalates because we've done something. We've tried to help in a way that wasn't helpful. Does that work?
Yeah.
So a good question for us to be asking ourselves in any interaction with anybody is is my help helpful? And we know that because the proof's in the pudding. Do they appear helped? Did it get better? Did it get worse? Then your help wasn't helpful, even if we think it should have been. Oh, I didn't hit DVD again. I guess I have to do that every time. It bumps out. Oh no. Did they? Oh, there are two in here. Good grief. Okay. I want the first one. I didn't notice that it had flipped over.
Are these things we can check out or?
Yeah, we have these in our library.
Okay.
So if you want to borrow them, call us and we'll send them to you in an envelope with a return envelope and you can send it back. You get 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the other thing is, we are making recordings of this on CDs and flash drives, because you can't really get all of this,
Oh, no.
you know, but you can check them out, you know, and do over and over, you know, so that it can help you along the line.
And
So that's what we're doing.
I'm always available to troubleshoot. So you all should have my number on the forms that I gave you. You can always call our office and I'm available to troubleshoot.
Would you mind while you're doing that, giving your name and number again?
I will, I can't do them at the same
Oh,
time,
okay.
but I will.
It's on the car.
Do you all have my, yeah, it's right on the front of your folder that I gave you.
I
Do you
can't,
have that?
I lost my
Okay,
folder.
I'll write it down for you.
Dang.
Uh-huh.
I assume this is the number.
Today's the 22nd.
And I know you paid the fine society. It's as soon as the computers came out, we were not going to have all this paperwork.
On the front. Front.
This is what happened before the problem began. This may have triggered the problem.
That's the same.
We just don't want to pay for like thousands.
You know, push fast forward and it went to the beginning again.
Let's do fast forward. Do you want like the different sections as opposed to
I do,
fast
I
forward?
couldn't make it.
You see it's highlighting 5. So if you
Yeah,
press
there's, I
enter,
don't, or will you use the arrows?
yeah.
There we go, I don't see the arrows.
Sitting as a desk.
I'm not sure it's clear.
It's just, it's just different than my at home, that's all. Okay, I've got it.
Yep.
Thank you, ma'am. But it didn't do it.
It's ABCs.
The whole thing
There, and
is.
there's aggressive behaviors. Is that what you're
Before you watch this tape on managing aggressive behaviors, be sure you have viewed the introductory tape, the ABCs of behavior management.
I'm just gonna do this manually, it's faster. You know, with VHS, one of the benefits is you can get the timer. And so I used to have the timers down, the times down. But the downfall of VHS is they wear out. So, that's okay. This is just doing what we just did.
Look at those glasses.
I know, this is just
I used to have those.
almost pinpoint the year, huh? Right.
I feel like she's scolding. Doesn't she have that?
She's actually a wonderful pioneer. She is, we'll talk about it in a minute.
Leave me alone. Somebody's taking my watch. I want to go home. I want to go home. If you don't take me home, I'm going to call the police. It's not my home. You're lying to me. I want to go home.
Okay, we're gonna chart that. So I always start with behavior because it's observable, and then I work my way back to what a possible antecedent might have been. You can start with antecedent, but in my experience, it's easier to start with the behavior. So what was the initial problematic behavior in this scene?
Looking for something.
Unmet need for watch.
Looking for something. I heard a lot of people saying,
Unmet need for his watch.
Frustration.
okay, so an unmet need, frustration, those are not behaviors, but those are both accurate.
Slamming doors.
But he was looking for something, he was slamming drawers.
Agitated.
Agitated is a state of being, it's not a behavior. And I'm doing this on purpose because I want us to chart what's observable. We want to be objective. And when we start guessing about how a person feels, then we're entering into tricky waters.
Distraught.
He was loud.
Yelling?
We know he was yelling. We know he was looking for his watch. These are all behaviors. He was slamming drawers.
Yelling.
And in the beginning, initially he wasn't yelling. Initially it was kind of muttering. And I'm breaking this down. The video will go boom, boom, boom. But he doesn't start yelling till later on, and I want us to see when that happens. So he's looking for his watch, he's slamming the drawers, and he's kind of muttering, "Somebody stole my watch."
Oh, yeah, he yelled after she said that.
We'll do it together. Somebody stole my watch. Right? So what happened right before that? We don't know.
We don't know, right.
We didn't see it. Sometimes we don't see the antecedent. Sometimes we just walk right in onto the behavior. But we can guess. He couldn't find his watch.
That's right.
Right? We don't know what happened that made him start thinking about his watch. But we do know he couldn't find his watch, and therefore he started looking for it. So CR, care receiver, could not find his watch. Now the watch could have been on his wrist, and he might have been doing all of this. Oh, he did not like that. So he couldn't find his watch. He starts slamming the drawers around, saying, "Somebody stole my watch, somebody stole my watch." He's searching around. And then what happens as a result? What's the consequence to this behavior?
Caregiver shows up.
Caregiver shows up.
Right.
So caregiver, and she asks what's wrong, right? What's wrong, Fred? Now, at this point, they won't do this in the video. This is my own little thing. At this point in parentheses, I make an up arrow, down arrow, same. I give myself a little clue as to the intensity of the behavior. Because what's our goal?
To lower and
escalate.
not to escalate. Right.
We might not be able to
Not to escalate it. Not
We
to
might not
escalate.
be- Sometimes what we do, it does de-escalate, but that's not a realistic goal, because every time it might not. But it is realistic not to throw fuel on the fire. So in my mind, I want to pinpoint, where does it escalate? What happened? What caused that? What was the trigger? So at this point, I think the intensity of his behavior remains the same, but he does give us more information. What does he say? Somebody stole my watch and I want to go home. So he says, somebody stole my watch. And I want to go home. But he's not louder. He's not bigger. He's just about the same in terms of intensity.
So you think that was the right question to ask him?
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong, Fred?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, right? She is trying to help. She should come in and say what's wrong. She should come in and say what's the matter, right? And that's why, you know what? It didn't cause his behavior to go up. It really didn't. When she starts with her body language going, which is consequence to this, yikes, he's out of it, what do I do? But she's uncomfortable with it,
Going
right?
back to what Dick said, if she hadn't have said, what's wrong? If she had said, obviously she's heard the door slam, and I mean, if you kind of came in with like, what can I help you with? Or something a little bit more,
I'm so sorry you're
instead of
upset.
what's wrong, maybe he didn't see anything.
We're charting this, and then we're going to chart the resolution. So
Oh,
there's a
I
couple
see.
jumping
Okay.
ahead.
Okay.
But
wait a minute.
I
Yeah,
do
no,
think it's
there's
okay
someone
to
here.
say that.
Is there?
Yeah.
I still think it's okay to say that. Some people get hung up on the word wrong. Like they're going to get caught on wrong.
Yeah.
There is something wrong.
Dr. Ware,
That's
hospice.
just,
I know.
calling it
I
like
said,
it
was
is.
there any outgoing
That's
mail?
just validating.
Oh, come on, I thought you said, is anybody here?
Oh, I know who's here. I think there's several people here in back. It's not to disrupt
Someone
your
official, yeah.
training. Anyway, sorry, I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
The mailman's
So you know,
You're
I think,
escalating
in my
good.
opinion, I think it's okay to come in and say what's wrong. There's obviously a problem. He's an adult. I think it's validating. I see there's something wrong. You're right. You could come in and say, can I help you with something? Right? You could do that. But I do think it's okay. It's just acknowledging there's a problem, and there is. And that kind of helps him to feel like you see him. Does that make sense? So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And we know it. The proof's always in the pudding. If there was something wrong, his behavior would have escalated. His behavior stayed the same until she kind of started, I mean, it's not even verbal yet, but her level of anxiety is palpable. You can sense it, and we're not even in the room, and they're actors. The first few clips we saw with the other videos, those were not actors. These are actors, obviously.
But I'm thinking, has he even turned to see her yet?
Yeah, he's starting to sense.
Oh, I
So
didn't see him
I
turn.
think that she starts to kind of recoil a little bit, and then we start to see him increase a little bit. His voice raises. That's how we know it's starting to escalate. He raises his voice. Then she says, what does she say?
You are home.
Bless her little heart. God love her. She's trying to help. So she says, you are home. And I've been in people's homes where the poor wife is saying, Ed, you're home. You built this house. We're in Katati. This is the house you built yourself. You are home. So it doesn't matter that they're in a facility. It doesn't matter that they're in their own home. It doesn't matter that they're in Disneyland. They don't feel at home. All of those things we talked about earlier that home metaphorically represents. Because this disease has robbed them of the ability to have all of these needs that are usually met at home, not perfectly, but well enough. That's all we need is well enough. They're not getting met. Or they're not staying met. They might be getting met, they're not staying met. So you are home. And in parentheses for myself, while I'm using this tool, I usually write the technique. What technique was that? Because then I can kind of generalize a little bit, right? So she's correcting, contradicting, right? And using what? L&R, logic and reasoning, to try to reorient him to her reality rather than joining into his reality. Now, bless her heart, she is a kind, caring,
Good actress.
person. If she didn't care about him, she wouldn't have come in to check on him, right? So sometimes we watch these and we go, oh my God, what were they thinking, that horrible caregiver? The truth is, I think she had really good intent. I think she had skills that were lacking. I think she used tools that didn't work. And I love that because we can work with that, right? If she just didn't care, I can't make her care. But we can work with tools that aren't working. We can work with skills that need building. All of you are people who care, or you wouldn't be wasting your day, right? It's not a waste to you because you care about it. So we can build skills.
And by contradicting him, she was lying. And
Yes. So that's very scary, right? So now here I am. I'm trying to help you, but what I've done without even realizing it is I have disoriented you. I have made you have to be on guard, right? I am lying to you. Here I am in a place I don't recognize, that's unfamiliar, unpredictable, where I don't have any personal power and control, where I already feel scared, where I don't feel safe because they steal your stuff. And now the only other human being interacting with me is lying and telling me I am home when I'm not home. It's like the Twilight Zone. But you are home, Fred. No, I'm not. Get out of here. This is your home, Fred. Ah! I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? So he's...
I can.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Students.
So you've got to get... I mean, I can imagine... I've seen people do it. I can't imagine being the Fred.
No.
But you've got to get big. You've got to be self-protective. Because I'm in a place where they steal your stuff and they lie to you and they don't bring you home. I'm a prisoner. Even if I'm in my own home. Even if I am home. So her intent was not to create that for him. Her intent was to alleviate his confusion and suffering. But the tool she used didn't work. Why? Because his brain isn't working that way. So she says, but you are home, using logic and reasoning, contradicting him, right? Taking away his personal power, because his story is he's not home. And she changed the story, so she took away his power. And we see it escalate even more. He pounds his fist. He yells even louder. His voice gets louder. He says, if you don't take me home, I'm going to call the police. You're lying to me. Right? Mm-hmm. And she does the same thing again. Because she doesn't have another tool. Not because she doesn't care. I really believe that. I mean, these are actors, but even when I see family members doing that, if they didn't care, they wouldn't be there trying to help. They're trying to help, it just isn't working. So more of the same, and he gets even more angry, and louder, bigger, and then it kind of goes out. I'm just going to write etc. How long could you imagine this going on if she keeps doing the same thing?
A long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all day, like hours. I've seen it. Yeah. Hours. Right? This could go on for hours. So at what point does the behavior escalate? Here. And what happened right before? She starts to use logic and reasoning, recoil, show that she's a little anxious. Remember principle number 2 from our last training, and you may not remember it, and that's okay because it was a long time ago, but hopefully you have your form. Principle number 2 is that our thoughts, attitudes, and actions significantly impact the person with dementia because intuitively and instinctively they're taking their cues from us. So if we look really anxious, or we look really put out, or we look scared, or frustrated, or angry, they're going to pick up on that, and that's their cue. Ooh, she's upset. There must be something wrong. Right? So when she starts to give off that vibe, and then uses logic and reasoning, his behavior escalates. So we know, if nothing else at this point, we know, try to remain calm, or like I said last time, convey calm. You might not feel calm, but try to convey calm. And perhaps logic and reasoning is not the technique indicated in this situation. So let's watch how they resolve it, and then we'll chart that together and compare. Okay?
Yay. What were the ABCs of this situation? The B, behavior, was his screaming, accusing others of taking his belongings, and asking to be taken home. The A, antecedent, was Fred looking for his watch in the dresser. The C, consequence, was the caregiver's response, asking him what was wrong, trying to orient him, and explain that he was home. This was worth a try, but this time it didn't work. Let's look at a more successful way to handle this situation. And again, we'll discuss the ABCs.
Somebody must have taken
What's wrong, Fred? Can I help you find
Somebody's
something?
taken my watch. I can't find it.
Oh, you worried
I
about
don't
your
want
watch?
to go
Well,
home. I don't like it here. People say things.
okay, Fred, here's your watch.
Yeah.
I'm not happy here. I want
Tell
to
me
go
about your home, Fred. I understand you're from Texas.
home. I was born in El Paso.
There's the Oscar clip. It is some corny acting, and it's dated, but the concepts are still really relevant. Yeah. So let's chart this one together. What was the initial problematic behavior this time? Same thing, right?
Same thing, searching.
And you know what? It gets to be same, so we don't need to change it. We only need to change what caused the escalation. So the antecedent was also the same. He couldn't find his watch. Then he starts rummaging around, muttering someone's stolen it. The caregiver comes in and asks what's wrong. He tells her somebody stole his watch and he wants to go home. And here's where it changes. What does she do differently this time?
Approaches him.
Assists them to find it.
Yeah, she says, "Can I help you?"
And didn't she touch him this time? She touched him this time. I don't
She
know if
touched
did
him on the shoulder.
Last time, did she touch him?
She might have. I didn't pay attention to that.
Yes, she did. She touched
You know,
him.
not everyone who's angry wants to be touched. So I would not. I wouldn't assume that because she touched him and it worked, that when somebody's angry, we should touch them. I might wait till he calms down a little bit and then touch him. But you kind of have to gauge, because some people are more comfortable with touch and some people are not. So she asks, "Can I help?" And what technique is she using here?
Did he answer that question?
I don't think
Did you
so.
say
Can I
yes?
help you? I don't think he answered.
No.
But she just starts
Starts,
helping. Can I help you? She validates his need for help. So what's the technique here?
Redirect.
She's
In his time. I mean, she's
joining
acknowledged that
in
he's
his
got a
reality
problem.
first,
She's working
right?
on it.
And she's validating his reality. She's not contradicting. And she's speaking to the emotional need, right? His need for what? What does a watch represent? Why do we wear watches? I'm not wearing one, but I use my
Control.
yeah. Why do we have a clock or a watch or anything?
Because we built railroads across the United States, and we had to have people put on time so that the railroads could have their schedule.
So we have a schedule. Why do we wear watches now? Why do we need clocks now? Dr. Wera, why do you have your watch on today?
He forgot.
So I know what time it is.
Why do you need to know what time it is? Why does
Because
it
there are
matter?
things I gotta do at certain times.
There are things you gotta do at certain times. You got places to go, people to meet, you've got value, you've got worth, you've got people counting on you, you've got a purpose. I had a clock this morning. I wasn't here on time, but I understood that. And the reason I looked at the clock was because I had to be somewhere. I have a sense of purpose.
Just what I said, we were put on the clock.
Yes, I need to know where I need to be.
Mhm.
And that means I must have some value for someone somewhere. I must have some control over something. I must have a role. I must fit in. It's also predictability. Right? So the watch represents the meeting of a lot of these needs. So the charge around the lost watch is huge. It's not the watch. Anybody who's familiar with therapy, it's not usually the, when you're doing couples therapy and they're fighting over the broken toaster, and I asked you to fix the toaster yesterday and you still didn't fix it. It's not about the toaster. It's not about the watch. The watch was what started this, but the charge is around, I've lost my orientation. I've lost my predictability. I've lost my sense of purpose. I've lost my sense of value and worth. This disease is robbing that from me. So certainly it could have started with, I can't find my watch, but it's so big and so charged because of what the watch represents. And that taps into his well of all of those feelings that are already there. Does that make sense? It's just, so she says, can I help you? And starts helping simultaneously. So she's joining. And at this point, guess what? She's already exceeded her goal. Because our goal is simply to stop adding fuel to the fire or not add fuel to the fire at all, right? And we already see him kind of calming down. How do we know? He gets quiet.
He's not.
His voice gets lower, not louder. He's still muttering. But he's not getting bigger and louder. He's actually getting quieter. So they look around for a while. She shows herself being helpful. She doesn't just say it, she does it, which is important. I see you helping me. I experience help. Then she finds that darn watch. And I'd say he stays about the same here. I don't think it went down. I don't think it went up. But it gives us more information. So she finds the watch, and then life's perfect and grand, and he's happy, and they go on with their lovely day.
No.